welcome to my home. When I brought this Rainer here, somebody told me, how did you manage to buy a Unabomber's house? Well, here it is, built long time ago, lasted long time. Dramatics. Hard to make video by yourself. 2 days ago, I had a wonderful day. I've made a sacrifice for the gods. Gods were very demanding this year, this month especially. April was a good month for me, and they demanded a big sacrifice. Sometimes when I don't know what animals they want me to sacrifice, I let them choose, and when I come in towards the herd of pigs, the one that came closer to me was a Frankie. I knew that pig since she was a little. She's 6 years old, female, never had a single litter, but she was like an old matron. Very mellow pig, but it was very peaceful and very gratifying, I would say. Gods will be pleased. 2 prosciuttos are being sold at 27 pounds each, and slabs of bacon and 50 pounds of sausage and so on. Gods will be extremely, extremely pleased. The reason I'm telling this to you is something has to do with my next poem that I'm going to read. You see, several years ago my life came to a very dramatic change. I used to have a very well-paying job in the oil field. It was a physical job, but very well-paid job. And instead I traded all for the bison, living on a survival mode. And all that happened because one day I saw a vision, not a vision like, I don't see visions and I don't hear voices, I know right from wrong. But I got some sort of an inspiration. As an experienced people would say, it was my muse that came and visited me. Some friends of mine give me this book, Standard Dictionary by Funk and Wagnalls. The Muse, in Greek mythology, any of the 9 goddesses who preside over the area, art and science. Well, sometimes happens. I used to be very skeptical of people like Jones Edwards, but then several things happens in my life that I said to myself, if I don't see what he sees, doesn't matter, he doesn't. Doesn't mean he doesn't see it. So anyways, somebody in science explained that we're all somehow interconnected. It's hard to explain how. Is it an energy? Is it on some molecular level? And that's what people who are true psychics, not the ones you call at midnight, but the ones that who are, like police asks to come and help in investigations. They figure they have that ability to connect somehow and see what's behind the curve type of thing. What I'm trying to say, well, if we're all interconnected, and several years ago my muse came and visited me in my dream and told me to write, not in exact words, but that's exactly what I draw correlation between what I've seen and what I was told to do. I don't get dreams, I don't believe in dreams, but my life came to a complete turnaround. I might don't have much money, but I'm sure much happier. I'd rather write books than swing tongues. That means on the rig, it's working on the rigs. Well, anyways, what has sacrifice had to do with my muse? It all has to do with my next poem that I would like to read. Is from my book, Dreams of Nostradamus. I call this poem is My Share, and I dedicate this to my muse. When I was a teenager, I read one book. I was caught by his stories like a fish on a hook. I will remember one until the day that I die. If you have a minute, let me tell you why. In a time of the Peros, when gods walked on earth, was one lonely man who worked in the dirt. He was poor and alone on his small pot of land, but he always praised God for giving him hand. On the end of each harvest, man would give God his share. He would hardly survive, but he did not care. He would start a big fire and burn gifts for the God. Always said, please take your share and leave me what I've got. Many years have passed, some were good, some was bad, but each year gifts to God went to fiery bed. And then came the day when the God appeared in a bolt of lightning with thunder deafening ear. Then God said to the man, you truly believe, I will reward you back for the gifts that you give. There is one condition that I will apply, and as a good servant, you won't ask me why. Where you keep your supplies in a storage room, you will have a big sack behind birch twig broom. I don't want you to touch it or untie that sack. I promise in 5 years I will come back. And with the thunder and lightning like he had appeared, in the clouds of dust God disappeared. The man walked back home like the story tells. He thought that God talked to someone else. I don't have a storage, I have only one room. I don't have a sack behind birch twig broom. When man came home, he found in surprise there was a big new house in the front of his eyes. His old house was a storage and was full of supplies. He thought to himself, God never lies. He looked in a corner and saw a burlap sack. The man said, I will never touch it. I would not spoil my luck. And the man has prospered. He bought more land. He had extra money and hired a hand. And he always gave the gods his share. What was in that sack, he just did not care. 5 years has passed. The God appeared with the lightning and thunder that will blow out your ear. He said to the man, I've received my share, and you never let your emotions flare. When you get back home, you will find a chest. Don't ever open it. It will be your test. When the man came home, he had a new yard. For the next 5 years, he worked very hard. With a new team of horses, he never took rest, and never once he has opened that chest. It belonged to his God. He would not dare. And each year in the flames went to God's share. Every 5 years the God would appear and brought good news to his servant's ear. 20 years went by since their meetings began. The man looked at his life and what God has done. He had fields of weeds and field of oats. He had flocks of sheep, herd of cattle and goats. Trees in the orchard were loaded with fruit. He had ponds of fish and a honey to boot. He lived in a mansion that had many rooms. The flower gardens was covered in blooms. In west wing of the mansion, one room had a lock. Of that room even servants was forbidden to talk. Last time he met God, God said to his slave, for more than 20 years you obeyed and behaved. You will find a statue in one of your rooms. It is covered in silk and a smell of perfumes. I don't want you to touch it, or it will be your end, and will use all the gifts that the time I have sent. Once man went to the mansion. No, once man into the room to let in some fresh air. There was a statue of woman. He had beautiful hair. Through the cover of silk that was very thin, man could see her eyes and her beautiful skin. Man could feel that his heart had increased his beat as the gust of warm wind blew the silk to his feet. Man picked up a sheet of silk to cover her back. When he was doing that, his hand touched her neck. Woman came to life, looked at him and said, "You have broken my curse, and I'm yours until death." In that second, black clouds covered the sky. A ball of lightning hit mansion. Men thought they will die. He cradled woman in his hands and ran outside. As everything burned, there was no place to hide. The fire has taken all the gods had to give, all the God has sent. The only thing that was left was woman in his hand. Then the God appeared in the front of man's eye and said, "You have broken my will. Can you answer me why?" Man bowed to the God and said, "Lord, may I dare? You have taken what's yours. Please let me keep her as my share. I've never questioned or reasoned your ways, but she will make me happy till the end of my days. And as long as I live, every morning and night, I will pray to you wisdom, and I will pray to you might." Now I'm also too old gray. I can always say that I live in God's way. When times were hard, I questioned His might. I forgot to thank Him when things went right. Sometimes on the days when I'm feeling sad, I think what would happen when things went bad. I don't have that much, but if I lose it all, when around me walls will begin to fall, when I look in a dumpster for something to eat, and for a place on my shelter on my frozen feet, when people will say he has nothing to lose, I'll thank God from my heart for giving me Muse. For the promise from the poems I wrote, for the dreams that I've had. When I felt that she slept in my arms in my bed, for the dreams that she told me to start to write, I will thank you, my Lord, for your wisdom and might, for being so kind, God who truly cares. You have taken your part. Please let me muse as my share. My bison just hear the poetry and they start to coming out. This is for my muse. I felt that you needed a little bit lift for some reason, I don't know why, but this is 2013, May 1st. I felt that you needed a lift and I wanted to read you this poem, and my bison came to give you hello too. Please take a look.